Oh boy, we'll have a lot of reading over here, but yeah. This is basically a little update dropped over here, actually today. Yeah, today. Sorry, I had to switch real quick. But yeah, a little update. For what Flood came out over here, basically a reworked teasers, a teaser of the reworked ideologies, the rework, and over here. Basically, a lot of things have been made over here. 2.4.2 over here. Pretty much still, it's coming out here like very soon. Not exact date over here, but at the very least, I'm gonna say maybe mid to late April. By the time this video comes out over here, it's probably might be out over here. Who knows? But considering all things over here, I'm going to be recording this, and that includes all this stuff over here, and that means it's gonna be a two-parter, like the daily progress report stuff. It's gonna be a lot of fucking reading, so yeah. Anyway, as Red Flood stated the world in January 1968, it got more flesh. It had become clear that the most read ideas of Europe only 2 full progress reports ago. What's going to cut it? There's no 2 this forward update clarified the interwar history of European socialism in a way that hadn't been done yet, and the progress made on future update has similar points to the ideologies. After a lot of planning, revision, cutting, the team is happy to present a more comprehensive sub-ideology list that reflects current and future plans for the mod. And this is like a rework. A rework. Because I'm back and only assume. Also, I got some People Please music over here in the background in case you're wondering. Really into that for lately, so. Sorry, those kind of, yeah. It knows what's gonna happen when we do part 2 of this because. Oh boy. Oh boy. Anyway. Before we get into the details of Smart War and general philosophy, how we approach this matter. There are mods that give every regional variation of political moves their own ideology, Kaiser Redux, and mods haven't done in the first place. Like you know, at the end of the day, we decided that every sub-ideology must be applicable globally, used in more than one country, not overlap other sub-ideologies. Distinctions had to be clear, cut, and broken on significant lines, with as much fat being treated as possible in order to offer the most streamlined yet detailed like the ideological landscape of Red Flood possible. You see a new game ideology description here, which we'll see later. Yeah. I'm not going to read all the stuff over here because we are going to read that over here with the ideology teasers. But this is basically like a quick summary thing, like if you want to speed through so here, because we are the avatars of speed after all. So we're gonna. It's basically like if you just wanted like a quick rundown of all the ideologies, it's not as detailed. Anyways, accelerationism in Red Flood started a pejorative, a negative label ascribed to movements by socialist theorists of the Second International, attacking global phenomena for myriad reasons, from the appeared faction to accelerate Russia past capitalism directly into socialism, to those who critically support Ludendorff's accelerating the collapse of capitalism, to the march on Rome and Fiume merely accelerating capitalist contradictions rather than addressing them. Still, the word became a badge of pride and vigor for many, although not all smeared by the monarchy accepted the label. In my idea, it is accepted term. Generally united by ultra-modernist values in technophilia, and could be identified Red Flag and beyond such a term. So yeah, this is basically like those who want to accelerate for left wanting to accelerate socialism, on the right wanting to accelerate the people via ultra-modernism and technophilia and other things like pretty much it's all of the spectrum. It's very stuff over here, and this is a very important thing over here. Of course, while the term in lore may be originated the insult heard by members of the national, we cannot ignore the real-world terminology by the actual ideology of acceleration and the Red Flood one. World links are not a one-to-one copy. The ideologies named Red Flood in and out of the lore context comes from a variety of sources, ranging from Nick Land, who, without told, went out and invented his own philosophy, to Benjamin Noyes, who classified people like Din Nunzio and Marinetti as accelerationists in his coordinated term. However, it is important to note that neither the real-life ideology of accelerationism nor the one expressed in Red Flood can be simplified to a mantra of "make things bad so good things happen." Yeah, I've seen comments of people being like about how like Red Flood's Excel is stupid, and all that shit. It's best like it's not so simply. It's not really like make things bad so we can make things good. No, that's the Howard Scott, the current Howard Scott way of doing things over here. Which basically like what Howard Scott does in Red Flood, he basically crashes the economy so that we can rebuild a technocratic economy via energy and all that stuff over there. So Yeah, it's very much though. It's very much though a very hard ideology, and I've seen a lot of people be like, stupid, and it's like it's very much so. Very much so that's the problem with it. Like you cannot think of it traditionally in like the left, right, and all that stuff. Though it's very much though something. It's its own beast, as it were. I'm not gonna delve into that one because that's gonna be like a fucking lecture, and I've got a lot of reading to do, and I don't really feel like dealing with that because Christ, my throat's gonna be pardon. Anyway, anarchism. Though an individual social status trio was a blunt division with this is a fail-state for other paths, catch-all attached to it. New society better reflects the subtleties of the anarchist label. And could believe in form of government or non-government are even more difficult to categorize on the left-right spectrum. So then the 1930s have an abundance. Yes, there was a lot of interesting things tonight. Like so much weird shit appeared. Like the 20s and 30s had a lot of weird shit going on with them. And when we talk to the ideologies themselves, when we get to them, though, it's gonna be you're gonna see exactly what is going on here. Anyways, vanguard socialism. Rather consistent ideology, Van Stock has mostly stayed the same since the beginning. Most of the work has gone towards honing what exactly splits it from pop sock, as well as flushing out some models of governments that would previously belong to the one of the other ideologies was tossed into state suck. State suck. The Vanguard Party model were pretty familiar with the current of dissidents against the Spartakists. Of course, clarifying what Leninism and national vanguardism, immediately evocative of national Bolshevism while in the war without a recognizable Bolshevism, was important to the rewrites, yeah. Because of the revolution failed in this time over here, so we don't really have like Bolshevism anymore. Well, Bolshevism, if we know it over here. There are Bolsheviks around. Like, you know, Stalin again in the path over here. But the Bolsheviks that we know of are more of a line with Bogdanov than what we currently know, so it's very much so not the same Bolsheviks that we know of in our timeline. It's funny I mentioned Bogdanov here, because Stalin actually favored Bogdanov originally. He didn't really like Lenin all that much until Lenin took over. Because Bogdanov fucking died of malaria when he did that blood transfusion thing. We don't know what happened if I fucking did that. Anyway, popular socialism. Back when this mod first came out, this idea was known as libertarian Marxism, which is very much low heavy left wing wank. It's very much so just like even though, you know, I was around with her that time, so I think I was around with her that time. I remember it still being called libertarian Marxism. The only ideology to have the name Marxism in the title. As we decided how to best rename it come 0.3.5, we decided that instead of focusing on a libertarian versus authoritarian split, we better have the nature of the schism be the matter of how revolution is organized itself. A difference between the top-down vanguards model and a popular model. Of course, it should not be confused as a rebranding of evil versus good or mean and repressive versus liberating and free. Nor does popular mean they enjoy the inherently larger amount of support. Yes, because that's the end of the thing. PopSock has been obviously beneficiary of the two sets. For rewrites, the circumstances of the timeline mean that something more like Karl Kautsky's orthodox Marxism and the radical left of the SPD's standard idea of revolutionary socialism. Spartakism and folk socialism are the biggest flag bearers of the second national model. At the same time, two variants of syndicalism are here due to being too revolutionary for the revisionists and too populist to be vanguardists. Yeah, so that's the thing over there. Vanguard is all about the party, and the revisionists just don't really like the whole revolutionary aspect of revolutionary syndicalism. Makes sense over here, and also in that sense. Wait up. Yeah, I bet that's gonna throw people off for seeing national syndicalism over here being labeled popular socialism. Because usually that sin is more like a tradition, like a fascist thing. But considering that fascism is a dead ideology, a dead and failed ideology in this timeline, it makes sense over here. Revisionist socialism. The revisionist socialism ideology is a bit of a misnomer at times, but revisionism as a concept matter in the same way in Red Flood. Do the vanguard socialists count as revisionists in a sense? Well, we are throwing about loose working definitions as Rev Suck classify those against a class-based revolution. Not all we're happy. Alas, due to a lack of bad classification, it is renamed a catch-all for the less Marxist socialism. Points outside the second nation there aren't accelerations or vanguard and so on. So yeah, so basically people like socialists that don't subscribe to Marxists, or at least not as Marxist as the other ones. Progressivism. Oh, progressivism. We used to be social democracy before it changed to Germany, and a better look at the term social democracy in general with a period lens. Progressivism sits on the leftmost slight liberal democratic ideas. Our time as liberal socialists sit out next to democratic reformers and even the application of Catholic social teaching. The binding ties of social, not socialist, still exists, even without the fact that a historical moniker sucked them being applied. Yeah, so that's the whole little thing over here. Socialist. Sort of about socialism. It's very much still a lot of interesting things over there on the progressive spectrum. Yeah, liberalism. It's probably one of the most recognizable slates to our time and one of the ideologies that we've seen the least change over time. Objectivism was brought into libertarian capitalism and national liberalism during the fray, but for the most part, liberalism has stayed the same vein since the beginning. They're not to say that the mindset behind its uses stayed the same throughout, as we have constantly been moving away from treating it as a boring, catastatical, slow path as well as the Who's Liberty could be fun too. Yes, there are some that was like a Nietzsche's path. These paths are pretty fun over there. Very much so that even though I play like the more like not really like democratic path over here. Usually usually left or right wing path over here, not really democratic. Some of them can be fun, to be honest, but a lot more interesting stuff happens with some of the other sides. Some of the more interesting stuff over here. That's not like like liberals and conservatives really. On the right flank, the democratic ideologies. Conservatism also hasn't been written properly, and the outline was actually be conserved. While not as bad as liberalism on the boring junk front, we certainly had to reevaluate exactly how we view things in order to breathe new life into the ideology and keep it from being overlooked and simple filler content. So diversity in the nature of how security order want the sub-ideas here are still especially respecting a democratic order which separates them from those that follow. That being the more other right wings. Polyarchy. Polyarchy replaces the old right-wing authoritarian ideology, which was both too restrictive and too vague. Right-wing authoritarian can be pretty much anything. And pretty much anything that's right-wing and authoritarian can be labeled as that, which is it's too broad, but yet too restrictive at the same time. It's a weird mixture that landed being traced. A large number of people who fit into the ideology were not right-winged, and the ideology itself didn't actually describe the exact way the government has run on the belief system behind it compared to ideologies. Still, a number of sub-ideologies here would qualify as right-wing or at least vaguely conservative in character, while being less democratic than their cousins under conservative. General character ideologies are more classified than the name itself, hierarchy, or ruled by many. So yeah, it's about not much focusing on democratic, but it's more so focused on ruling of many. With maybe some democrats over here, like National Dem, for example. Or something, yeah, like colonial prisoner government, whichever one. Despotism. In contrast to polyarchy, despotism tends to amplify the more centralized authoritarian style of rule. Yeah, I guess polyarchy, or oligarchy, is more what we consider that. And they tend to emphasize a more centralized authoritarian style of rule with a single focal point of power. It includes governments with a monarch or religious hierarchy, since as a very real political authority, a sovereign ruler. So sovereign, regardless of limitation based on paper, to dictators with a more common touch. There are some right-wing movements that haven't been subsumed to the accelerationist or reactionary camp, seen on the fence between two opposites. Yeah, pretty much though, if you ain't like the futurist, but if you ain't like full-blown reactionary, then you're in despotism. Despots. And all sorts of interesting despotism over here. And now the reactionaries. The content of the reactionary idea reflects a few traits of red flag. The failure of fascism to unite traditionalists and modernists under one flag is one of them. And the absence survival of the Russian Empire is inspiration of others is, in other words, not every reactionary is a would-be fascist or a two-bit czarist, however. The third line between them all is a wish for the clock to turn back. Clearly breaking about 30 adults out there, the clearer dividing line between the traditionalist far right and its paleotheological forms. Yeah, so basically it's like, even though these people are reactionaries and they're very reactionary in their beliefs and all that, though they're not like they're not gonna be like the fascists or the Nazis or the czarists of czarists at all times. They're reactionary, but they're not them. Like, they could be like their own things, really. So you can't just label like, you know. I mean, you could, but you really have to like Germany during World War II with all of its people. Like, you would need to. You cannot clearly call them all reactionaries. There are some that have very weird ideas and some things that go beyond this classified reactionary over here. So you gotta keep that in mind when you think of reactionary. That it's not like, you know, and like, you know, Czarist and all that stuff. Like to say TNO, for example. Anyway, the postscript. A long time coming with a large number of discussion that hammers down every single detail. Ideally, we achieve a system that not only affects the planet state of the world and red flood, but also explain how we got here and how I can move forward. The team would like to thank the researchers, writers, and artists who made this RTE possible. The amount of Bitcoin over 10 days to present the most ironclad possible list of sub-ideas has resulted in a new, really neat product at the end. Very much like this over here. Now, show us off in part 2 as well. But yeah, very much like that over here. You shout out to all the stuff. I'll probably post it over here if you want to. Over here, but I will be reading all the ideology stuff over here because I know people aren't going to really, you know, look at the Reddit and all that stuff, but might as well do it over here because I very much want to read the stuff over here, and I'm very much interested over here. We can see how long my thought will last reading all the ideologies and all that and getting my own thoughts about this, and I might make like a poll about this. Who knows? I'll think about it. And we'll see you guys in part 2 over here, where I'll reveal this as well over there. All sorts of stuff we got going on over here. And leave a comment below on this and next video. I'll be like with thoughts about all this. Like, do you like the new changes and all that? Are they interesting? Is it cool and all that stuff over here? Very much would like to see comments about this over here. I barely get any comments, and I would like to see some, please. I want to see what you guys thoughts about this. So then, see y'all later. Bye.